Library Out Loud updates you all about the fun and interesting things going on in the Spokane County Library District. Sponsored by STCU and the Spokane County Library District.
Hello and welcome to Library Out Loud. I'm Jane Baker with the Spokane County Library District, and it's been a while. So here we are back with the Library Out Loud, and we got some exciting things going on. We thought we'd be in a different place by now, but we're still running a lot of virtual programs. At this time, our library buildings are still closed. However, we are offering curbside pickup and doing whatever we can to make sure that we're still out there helping the community and providing the resources that you were looking for. So we are continuing with our virtual programs, and one of them is a program, Resident Artist program, and it is something we've done in the past several years. We did it, and we're bringing it back this year with a virtual format, and it'll be a little bit new. So joining us today is Dana Menino. She is a librarian with Spokane County Library District. Hello, Dana.
Hello, Jane, but I think we're going to talk about Virtual Valleyfest.
Oh, I'm sorry. See, it's been a long time since I've done one of these. Yes, we're talking about the resident artist in the next half of this program. Yes. Dana, we're talking about Virtual Valleyfest.
Yeah, let's do that.
We're off to a great start here, but it's all good. So yes, Virtual Valleyfest. We need to talk about that. Same sort of thing. Valleyfest has gone on for several years. Don't want to miss it this year, but because of the circumstances, it's gone virtual. So let's talk about Virtual Valleyfest.
Sounds good.
Let's see, it's soon. Some of the elements of Virtual Valleyfest start soon. But first, Dana, tell me a little bit about how the library is involved.
So we always love coming to Valleyfest. It's one of my favorite times of year. I've done it twice now, and I love seeing all of our library patrons and new library patrons who didn't know what the library could offer, that are walking by, and we get to share that story with them. So we're really sad that we won't be seeing everyone's faces. But the good news is that Valleyfest has launched a virtual format, and the library will have a virtual booth at Valleyfest. So just as we used to be providing information to people who walk by, now we will be providing information to people who stop by and click on our booth. And it's still live. There is still a real librarian on the other end of the booth. So everyone who has missed chatting and visiting us, I hope that they will stop by and use the chat feature to visit with me at the Valleyfest booth, and we can get some of that human connection back. A lot of our best work comes from conversations that we have had over the Circ Desk, where we get to know what our community wants and needs, and we're hoping to have some of those conversations we've missed out on at the Virtual Valleyfest.
Yes, and it's like everything with Valleyfest is virtual this year, and they're calling it like kind of virtual village. And there's going to be all the booths. If you've been to Valleyfest in the past, it's usually on at Marabou Park, and there's a large green area, and there's lots of booths, kind of similar to. And this year it's going to be virtual, so you'll be able to go online, and I believe that is valleyfest.org, and then you can click on the virtual village, and you can visit the booths online. And as Dana mentioned, that there'll be live bodies on the other end. So you just don't have to go to the park this year and do it. Now, when is this happening? It's coming up real soon, right?
Yes, and you know what? My computer's turned around, so I don't have my calendar in front of me, but it's Saturday, the 25th. Do you have it written down, Jane?
Yes, 26th, I believe.
26th, one day off. Here we go.
Hey, good job. That is the virtual village, and it'll be on, let's see my notes, Saturday the 26th from noon until 4 p.m. So you don't need to be here all day. You can come and go and click in and click out as you want, and then you can talk to people at the library. So what kind of things can we expect to see at the library's booth?
Well, we've pulled out a selection of links from our website that we thought would have the most relevance to what's going on now. We have some resources for parents who are educating their kids in new ways and want to know about maybe our online live tutoring. So basically, we've
Hmm.
thought about virtual library services that you can still get to, even though it's during COVID, that you might not know about because they're hidden inside one of our other tools, like our live tutoring service is. And we've tried to pull those out so that people can come by, and even if they're familiar with the library, they can learn something new that will be useful to them right now.
So if parents are doing distance learning from home, or perhaps even homeschooling, and are not aware of all of the resources, even if they are aware of some of the resources, like you said, there's a few little hidden things. You have to kind of know where to go and find that information. So that would be, those are the first people that come to mind to visit the booth to talk with you about how to supplement those distance learning things. But there's also other things. People can come talk about any of our resources. So that's very exciting. So that's great. Also going on with the Valley Fest, that next Saturday, the 26th, that's a big day. They have also, in addition to the virtual village, a lily pad procession, which is where they've asked people to decorate their front porches, and they have maps on their website on where you can drive around during certain days. I believe it is also next Saturday or next weekend, and then you can drive around and check out all the different porches that are decorated. And the nice thing about that is there are prizes involved. So if you live in the valley and you want to take part, go to valleyfest.org and see what you need to do. There's still time to enter that. Also, they're doing a marvelous mini parade, and that's where you can create a mini float for a parade. It has to be like a shoebox size. Take pictures of it and you enter it in also on their website so you can see a mini parade, so to speak. And also, they're doing multi sports activities, and these all start tomorrow. They go through the end of the month, and there's different places in the valley where you can go run, walk, bike, rollerblade. There's even places where canoe, kayak, and stand-up paddleboarding is going on. So those are multi-sport activities, also in connection with um, the Valley Fest organization. And hopefully the smoke clears out. Fingers crossed. I hear that perhaps Sunday we might be seeing some blue sky again. So that'd be a great time to get out and participate in these. And they're also doing a drive-in movie at the Hub Sports Center. I don't have any other details about that, but I'm sure if you go to valleyfest.org that they would give you more information. So Valleyfest, the big Valley thing, still happening this year. It's just virtual, and that's okay. We're good with that. We're pretty experienced at it these days. So I am very excited about the booth that you're doing, and the information and the resources. What else might we expect from the library at Valley Fest this year?
Well, one of the things we knew we were going to miss was handing out color-changing pencils. I know it sounds really silly, but the look on a kid's face when we say, "Would you like a thermal activated pencil?" and they pick it up and it changes colors in their hand, it's something we look forward to every year, and it's something that kids remember and come back to get another one. So we wanted to
Mhm.
still have a little bit of that. So if you come to our Valley Fest virtual booth and you chat with a librarian so that we can know you're there, we will arrange that the next time you come to your library for curbside pickup, there will be a color changing pencil inside of the bag of curbside pickup materials for you. So we're using it as a way to connect again, which all of us have been so craving while we've been apart during this pandemic.
Hmm. And I know, to somebody who hasn't seen one of our color changing pencils, it might not sound
Ah,
that exciting, but they are very exciting. I happen to have one right here, as you can see on the
what?
pencil. Yes, yes, and they do. They change color with the heat of your hand, and well, this one is needs to be warmed up a little bit more, but they do. They change color with the heat of your hand. They're a lot of fun, and they're very nice pencils. And That's pretty much our big giveaway with the library. And kids love it.
They do.
Some of us adults love them too. So, yeah, that's great. And curbside pickup is Monday through Saturdays. Let's talk briefly about that. There's still people who are discovering it. We kind of forget because we've been talking about it all summer. But curbside pickup, it's very easy. You go online to our catalog. You browse through the catalog, check out your books. And then when they arrive at the library, or you can come in and you get a notice by email, you come in between noon and 6, call the number. It works just like any other curbside. Call the number and we run out with the books and materials that you want. And it's very cool. So if you haven't experienced curbside pickup at the library, do. Unfortunately, it's been suspended through this smokiness, but the plans are to bring it back starting again tomorrow. So that's Saturday, the 19th. Curbside pickup will resume.
And that's just in time for next week's curbside voter registration drives. Smoke permitting, the League of Women Voters is going to be at each of our libraries each day that they're open next week. And they're going to be checking to make sure that people are registered and ready to vote in November's election. So curbside pickup, all the exciting things that you might usually have happening at the library, we're trying to find a way to kind of weave them in so that we can still be part of our community that way.
That's great. I am so glad you mentioned that, Dana. So curbside voter registration starting next week. That's the 21st. Here we
That's
are.
correct.
These dates with our calendars in front of us. So it starts the 21st, and just drive up and say, how does that work? If I drive up, how would I register?
Well, we will have volunteers from the League of Women Voters at a different library each day of the week. They're going to be there from noon to 2, which are our busiest hours. You can check our website to figure out when they will be at a library near you. They will have paper voter registration forms available at a socially distanced table, and that's the same form you would use to update your registration if you have moved or basically just moved is when that, or if you're a new voter, it's the same form either way. And the League of Women Voter Volunteers will have a computer in front of them. So if you're not sure if your voter registration is up to date, they can look it up for you and let you know if it's time to get your information off to the county election board. And it's very important this time of year because some of the natural places that we update our voter registration have been closed. The DMVs have had longer lines and restricted hours. Schools haven't been meeting, so the 18-year-olds who are just now eligible to vote didn't have a chance to sign up to vote in a registration drive at their school. So we're trying to fill that gap by reminding people at the library to make sure their registration's up to date.
Fabulous. That's great. And as I mentioned, we are still doing everything and anything we can to remain socially distanced and going virtual. Absolutely. To provide the resources. And yes, we miss people. We hope to see you soon in our libraries. Thank you so much for joining me today. Virtual Valleyfest happening next weekend. Make sure to check out the virtual village. Click on the library's link and visit Dana next Saturday. Talk about all kinds of things, all library related. So, and then the voter registration next week too. Again, thanks for joining me. We're going to take a quick break and we're going to come back and we're going to talk with Corinne Wilson about the resident artist. I knew we'd get to that sooner or later. All right. We'll be right back on Library Out Loud.
What? You haven't been to the library lately? Stop in today and see that the library is more than books. Spokane County Library District facilities feature on-site technology, including Wi-Fi, computers, and printers, as well as free use of meeting rooms. The Library District offers events and programs for all ages, from story times to career development and employer classes to Social Security workshops. Our staff is well trained and happy to help. Find out more about your library at scld.org.
I'm Jade Becker and I'm a senior at Chewilla High School. I'm at STCU's Money Live event. In this scenario that we played today, I was a realtor. My spouse was a city worker. We had an 11-month-old child and there was a lot of spending for that child, like diapers and formula and had to buy toys and clothing. I'm very glad that I had this experience. It was super helpful. You need this to get far and ahead in life. I'm Jade Becker, and STCU is here for good.
And welcome back to Library Out Loud. I'm Jane Baker, and joining me now is Corinne Wilson. Corinne, thank you for being here today. And we are talking about the Resident Artist Program that is happening at the Spokane County Library District. I was a little mixed up earlier today, but it's been a long year. This is an exciting program. This is something we have done in the past in previous years where we've had a resident artist at the library. I don't remember if we did it last year or not. It seems like that was so long ago, but it's a program we did. That's right. We did. We're bringing it back again this year, only it's going to be virtual. So a little different. And Corinne, tell us about the program.
Absolutely. So in past years, what the Artist in Residence looked like was we'd have a different artist featured every month. We'd have their art up in the library. They would sit in our lab space towards the back, and individuals and families could wander through, and the artist would explain, here's how my process works. You can watch me paint this painting, and I'll show you different techniques of how I do it. You can watch me sew this garment, and I'm going to show you something special about how I do that. But obviously, we can't do that right now. So we have some plans in the works. We will have our artists pre-record, in most cases, something that they will be doing still in our labs. And then we will be presenting that live online to the public. Hopefully, we'll have the artists present as well to be able to answer some questions. And we also have some programs planned via Zoom. And in some cases, people will be able to provide their own materials. In some cases, they can drop by our curbside service that you mentioned earlier and pick up a bag of materials that will be ready to go for them. So we're hoping that people who haven't been able to go into, say, a gallery or a museum because of COVID will have kind of that gap filled in their life, people who really value art in our community, because we have some really fabulous artists in Spokane. And we love to learn more about that.
Yes, we do. And we always like to discover something new that we didn't know was right in our neighborhood before. So the artist will be working on something. We'll video it and you can watch, and then hopefully they are available to interact with you online while they're working on stuff and explain what they're doing and maybe talk about techniques and things. And then classes too. Exactly. We'll have some programs where you can take. So the program starts in October. And it runs 4 months. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes.
4 months.
So
and
our next
every month.
Correct. Yes. So our first artists that we'll be featuring call themselves the Botanical Alchemists. They work with flowers and other different kind of natural fauna and flora. And they are going to, their names are Ava and Sarah. They'll be presenting in October. And they've had different, I don't know whether you would call it a mural or a collage, but they've had different kind of sculptures made of flowers up around Spokane before. So if you see their work, you might be a little bit familiar with it. And then we've our 2 programs that are coming up in October will be a little bit different in terms of supplies. The first one, Nature Art, you can gather your own flowers and leaves and things from around your neighborhood starting right now. And then they are going to demonstrate some things that you can do to make art out of those objects. And then for paper flower making, it's pretty self-explanatory. They're going to teach you how to make paper flowers. And I believe we'll be providing some supplies for that.
That sounds great. The Botanical, what again? What was their name?
Alchemists.
Botanical Alchemists. Oh, that sounds exciting and a lot of fun. These might also be great programs for kids who are doing some distance learning too, to learn about different things to do with nature and things like that. So that's of interest.
Yeah,
so that's October, and then there's November. Who's in November?
In November, Brandy Seistrup is going to come in and show us some things using alcohol inks. And I believe one of those programs, since it is in November, is making your own ornament out of these special inks. So you can have something ready to go for the holiday season, regardless of what you celebrate and who you're going to see. You'll have something ready to give away. And I believe the other program is tile making. So we'll be making some cool designs on a tile using alcohol inks.
Alcohol inks. That's interesting. Is that like alcohol and the kind you drink? Or
I wouldn't
alcohol
recommend drinking the inks, but
isopropyl?
I think that it gives them maybe a brighter color, and I think it also helps with how the ink applies to different things. But
Ah,
yeah, there's a concentration of alcohol in the ink, I think.
oh, super interesting. So we'll be looking for that in November. And what was her name again?
Brandy Seistrup.
Okay, we'll be looking for Brandy in November. And then December. What's
So
happening then?
December, we will have Allison Hawes come in and teach some classes around digital art, which I think will be exciting for the community because unless you usually pay for an expensive software or take a college class, you don't get to experiment very much with creating your own art using the computer. But she's found some ways to do that. That she can share with the community for free. So that will be an exciting opportunity, I think, for uh, people of all ages who have not gotten a chance to ever create their own digital art before.
That sounds fascinating. So then again, she would be the same thing where you would get to have an open lab type session where you get to watch her work and then
Yes,
she can interact with you.
she'll
And then there would be
demonstrate
a
some theater, and then we'll have some programs where we'll have one-on-one, or not one-on-one, but our artist will arrive at the program and be able to instruct people in what they're going to do today.
that sounds fascinating because my first thought is, a graphic designer. They're kind of doing digital
Yes,
art, but this sounds
exactly.
like it might be something different. Is it
It's
a little
a
different than
little
that?
bit similar. A lot of Allison's art, I've looked at some of her web pages and things, and they're very cute designs that she has created using different computer programs and things. I think she's going to teach some very simple ways to create your own design via the computer. So it is sort of like graphic design a little bit, except maybe not quite as in depth as what a professional graphic designer could do, obviously. Just
Yeah,
very
yeah,
basic steps.
they're pretty technical, a graphic designer, but it would be fun to be able to do some cool designs, with your computer.
Absolutely.
Isn't everything on the computer these days, right? So that's awesome. And then January, which will be the final month of the Artist in Resident program for this session. Who is that artist?
Correct. So our last artist in the series is Hayden Cheeseboro, and he is going to show us some art involving fabric. That's his medium. And he'll be teaching us how to make our own bookmarks out of fabric and also thinking about what devices artists who work with fabric use to tell a story using clothing or to represent a particular image or something about yourself using clothing, because as any teenager will tell you, what you wear says a lot about who you are and who you're telling the world that you are. So he'll talk a
Hmm.
little bit about how do we use different fabrics and designs and symbols to tell our story. And then, of course, we all are very familiar with face masks now due to COVID. He'll also be teaching us how to make our own face mask and different simple techniques that you can use to create those using whatever fabric you would like.
Oh, that sounds fascinating. And then he will be using fabrics and materials. This sounds like a very interesting session that I want to know more about, and that will be happening in January of
Correct.
2021.
Yes.
So this is our Resident in Artist program, and it traditionally had taken place at the lab up at the North Spokane Library. This year it's going to be all virtual, but it's the same offerings. We'll be giving you the opportunity to watch the artist at work, have this informal conversation with them if possible, ask them what they're doing, what techniques are they using. So you get to kind of visit them in their space, kind of. And then there'll be a couple classes, at least a class, associated with each artist each month. That's exciting. Corinne, anything to add to that? Did I get all those details right?
You got all of those details right. We're so grateful that our North Spokane friends were still willing to sponsor this program, even though it can no longer be in person. We're really hoping that we can attract some people to the Artist in Residence program who don't usually come into the library, and that they might visit us after we have reopened during phase 3.
Absolutely, absolutely. We always have art displays at all our libraries, and they change out monthly, and it's always worth coming by if you're into the art world, or even if you're not and just want to know what's on the walls. It's worth coming in every month. So yes, can't wait to be opening again. Corinne, thank you for joining me to talk about the Artist in Resident program. I know this is a tough one to put together. You started taking applications early in the year. There's a review process. You have to you don't get to pick everybody as much as you want to. You can only choose 4.
Yes.
So good job in putting all the work together and getting this going. And it'll be virtual starting in October. And I'll go to scld.org, find out more details. We'll get all that information up on the website for you. And you'll be able to follow along and check out these wonderful artists we have in the area. Again, thank you for joining me, Corinne. And I think that's about all we have time for today. So until next time,
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining us. And we hope to see you at least curbside at the library. And until next time, this is Library Out Loud.
Thanks for watching. Ask the host a question, recommend a guest, or check out any of our other programs on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or SpokaneTalksMedia.com. Sponsored by the Spokane County Library District and STCU.